What's up guys, this is Miyasin. So today I wanted to cover what I consider personally to be the best board breaker in the current format. This card is extremely good in mirror matches and in tier 0 formats and all that good stuff, but even outside of mirror matches this card can really shine. Granted that you really put in the effort into understanding how this card can beat the meta, and if you have the cards that would work along with it in your extra deck or main deck. As a matter of fact, I really like to compare this card to Super Poly, Ghost Reaper, and Small World, where it is proportionally good to the amount of cards that you can allow it to be good in your it makes no sense, but trust me on that one. This card is extremely good if you understand how it works, and this is my responsibility today. But yeah, before we go any further, you already know the drill. Smash the like and subscribe button, and let's get right into it. Alright, so first things first, what is Metal Chonios and how can it be good for you? Well, first of all, it is a quickly spell, which is already really good, so it has the same flexibility as Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse, etc. And it reads, target one face-up non-token monster your opponent controls, special summon one monster from your hand, deck, or extra deck that has two or more of the same type, attribute, and or attack, but negate its effects. And if you do negate that targeted monster's effect, also after that, if the monsters have the same name very specifically, you can banish both face down, and your opponent cannot activate the targeted monster's effect in response to this card's activation. You can only activate one Metal Chonios per turn, so if the activation gets negated, you can try again and keep breaking your opponent's board. Okay, so quite clearly, this card, if I'm talking about it, it's because it is really good against the best deck of the format, which is Yubel. Yubel is extremely explosive, but what is really bad for them is that they're pretty much always going to end their board on like some dark fiend monsters or fiends that have a certain amount of attack that you can really take to your advantage. Even if they only end on like Phantom of Yubel or like one monster, that's great for you. And sometimes when they end on like multiple monsters, you can still catch them with the Metal Chonios, because you can target the card that would have negated this card and then summon a monster that would actually break the rest of the board. So sometimes Metal Chonios can kill like multiple birds with the same stone. So the first application obviously is to target something like Phantom of Yubel. It is a dark fiend monster, so you can summon any dark fiend from your deck, or a fiend with 0 attack, or a dark with 0 attack. So obviously the world is your oyster, but usually it's going to be another like Yubel-esque monster. By the way, again, it's not like Small World. It doesn't check for the level and for the defense stat. That is completely irrelevant because it also involves extra deck monsters, so that could be like Link monsters, Xyz monsters, etc. So yeah, it's really just type, attribute, and or attack, and it has to be 2 or 3 out of 3. It doesn't have to be exactly one like Small World. That one's a little too confusing, right? Anyways, speaking of Dark Fiends, you can also target Unchained Soul of Rage, potentially to special summon your own Unchained Soul of Rage and then banish both face down. This is what you would like to do when your opponent has Escape of the Unchained, so that when he uses the trap to destroy your one of your cards and his own Unchained Soul of Rage while he has another Yama on the grave, you can chain Metal Chonios, target the Unchained Soul of Rage, banish, summon your own, and then banish both, and then not only will the Escape not pop, but also your opponent will not be able to float with Yama, revive back Unchained Soul of Rage, and then link off using Mirror Monster, go into SP, banish another card, and then banish another card with its trigger effect. That would be absolutely catastrophic. Well, I mean, with its quick effect, but you get what I'm saying. That's what you're trying to avoid, and this is the beauty with Metal Chonios. You can dodge like 4 removals with one single card. It's again very good when your opponent doesn't end on the full board. If your opponent ends on a full board, then obviously this is not going to be enough, but sometimes it could be if you draw multiple copies, because like I said, you can only activate 1 per turn. So if you activate the first one and you get negated by something like Varudras, which negates the activation, you can try again, which is great. So yeah, you can really take this to your advantage. And speaking of Varudras, this is a Dark Worm with 3000 attack. You could summon something like Mirror Jade, and then kind of nice because the Mirror Jade, even if its effect is negated, you can still use it and then send a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz, so you can get a little bit of advantage even with a negated Mirror Jade. And the other way around is also true. So if your opponent is playing Despia and you're playing Yubel, you can negate your opponent's Mirror Jade with Metal Chonios and then summon Varudras. Yeah, this card is also good against Despia, and there's a lot of other targets as well, which I will cover briefly. But I want to say probably the best application for Metal Chonios, at least that I can see, is targeting DDD Wave Hiking Caesar, which is a fiend with 2800 attack, and then summoning your own fiend with 2800 attack, Fiendsmith DS Irae. And again, you're going to be negating the Caesar, which makes it so that you don't have to worry about 2 negates. Caesar cannot negate because the targeted monster cannot activate itself in response to Metal Chonios targeting it, shutting down 2 negates, and then you're summoning DS Irae. And that is not only a big beat stick, but also if you have like an Engraver in the Grave or like any other light fiend, when you link off the DS Irae into your Requiem, you can go DS Irae effect and then shuffle back your other light fiend, send a monster or send any card on the field to the graveyard, and then you can go Fiendsmith combo. So yeah, all of that off of like 1 card. it's insane. It's a lot of removal, it's a lot of gas that you're generating, and that's the reason why I think Metal Chonius is insane. It's because not only is it a card that allows you to beat your opponent's board, it's also a card that generates advantage and value for you. And there's another deck, again, that I will cover briefly, that I think uses this card probably even better than Yubel, but I don't think it's gonna shine right now. It might shine in a few weeks. Anyway, some obvious applications would be targeting your opponent's IP and then summoning your own IP, or a Dark monster with 800 attack, or a Cyber's Dark, not that it really matters. SP, you're always going to be summoning your own SP and then negate both. You could also banish both SPs, but you don't really need to do that. You might as well just capitalize off of the free body that you're getting on the field. And your opponent, again, cannot dodge the Metal Chonius to target the SP Little Knight. The reason why these kinds of board breakers are good is because your opponent usually cannot respond, so you always have some guaranteed value. The Fiendsmith cards, again, if your opponent, let's say, activates Tract and then summon Luri and then discard Revive back, you can just banish that face down, and then you don't really have to worry about Luri for the rest of the duel, but also you want to have your own Luri. You can do the same thing with an Engraver, because if you have like 3 Engraver, then it's fine. If you lose like your 1 of Engraver, it's not the end of the world. Now, one of the coolest applications, if you are going first and you get hit by a Bestiole and you also have Metal Chonius, let's just say your opponent summons a Magnamot on you. Usually this hurts a lot. You don't want to Ash the Magnamot effect, but you also don't really want to let it go through. But you can chain Metal Chonius to the effect of search, and then summon, like, let's say, a Druid's Worm from your deck, because that is a Dark Dragon of 25. Actually, as a matter of fact, it matches all the characteristics. Obviously, it's a Bestial monster. And then not only are you negating the Magnamot effect of search, but also you're summoning a Druid's Worm, so you're generating a body in the process. And then you link off your Druid's Worm for anything, and then you use its effect to send the Magnamot to the grave. So you don't have to deal with the Magnamot body, and you don't have to deal with the end phase search, and you are able to search a Bestiole. All of that off of pretty much 1 card. Again, it's a lot of value that you get. And you can also summon like a Phantasme if you don't have any Bestioles, because that is also a Dark Dragon. The absolute best application for this card would be in Dragon Link, because if you get to target a Bestiole monster, which again can be done generically, everybody's gonna play Bestioles against you. You can target the Bestioles and then summon Black Metal Dragon from your deck, and this pretty much gets your engine started, because even if Black Metal's effect on the field is negated, it doesn't matter. You can just link it off for Striker Dragon, and then go Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, and then get so many pluses off of 1 card. So yeah, you can easily recover from Bestioles using Metal Chonius. This card is probably gonna be your best friend for this deck. Now, Effect Veiler is not only a hand trap that you're trying to play, but it's also a card that, I guess, bridges for Metal Chonius. It's the kind of card that allows you to negate so many cards. So Blazing Cartesia as well as Guiding Quem against Despia, both are light spellcasters. And against the White Forest deck, or even Centurion, they have Sylve of the White Forest as well as Centurion Primera. So you can at least negate them, but you can't banish them unless you're playing those cards. Keep that in mind. The banishing face down is only a thing if you're summoning a monster with the exact same name as the monster that you're targeting. So that's the reason why I said that it's even better in mirror matches. But even outside of mirror matches, it at least acts as a Forbidden Chalice and a special summon from deck, which is, it's insane when you think of it that way. And against Flunderies, it's kind of shit, because all you can really do is, well, I mean, for now, you can't really do much, because Flunderies Empen has 2700 attack and it's a Winged Beast, which is just a weird typing. There's not much that really fits the bill. Eaglin is also kind of awkward. These are the 2 monsters that you kind of want to not really see. And I guess when Molchami Floraros comes out, if you're already playing that card, then at least you can Metal Chonius into that, because that is a Winged Beast, but it's not really good. Toad is a Water Aqua, and Molchami Aurelia is a Water Aqua. So if your opponent is playing, let's say, Sprite, Ice Bear, whatever, you can just target that Toad, summon your Molchami Aurelia, and then at least negate that. And your opponent also cannot negate your Metal Chonius again to steal it, because that would be free value. So yeah, your opponent was gonna have a negated Toad. You can still recycle back a water when it's sent to the graveyard, but who gives a shit? Unless you summon your own Toad and then you banish both face down. So at least your opponent has the worst follow-up, which is great. And obviously there are a lot of other options. Like I said, against Despia, there's Grand Guignol, Light Spellcaster, but it's not like super insane, because even, I mean, no, it's actually not bad. It's not bad, because if it's negated on the field, then your opponent has to get it to the grave in order to use the other effect to summon a Dogmatica monster from the deck, or a Despia monster from the extra deck. Still, against the White Forest deck, there's Diabel, Silvera, and Hugin against the Runic version. So you can summon Effect Veiler against all those cards, because obviously they are light monsters, and this one, it was light spellcasters. Actually, no, this one is a light illusion, so that's not gonna work really well, but this one is a light spellcaster, so it does work. And this one is a light fairy, so it wouldn't really work, but it's still a 0 attack monster, so it still works. Crimson Dragon, light monster with 0 attack, so Effect Veiler works. Again, very good against Centurion, and you're trying to play Effect Veiler probably anyways against them. Even though they don't have King Calamity, it's still a scary deck. Against Thunder Dragon Colossus, generically I guess, you can summon Mirror Logic Aggregator, because it is a dark monster with 2600 attack. But that's granted you play the card. So if you're playing something like, I don't know, something that could potentially send it to the grave, like if you're playing Voice's Voice with a Nadir Servant package, this could be solid for you. It's nice if your opponent has a second Colossus, because you summon the Aggregator and then you link it off or something for whatever, and then you use the other Aggregator to negate the other Colossus. So you can argue that with one single Metal Chonios, you can negate the double Colossus. That's honestly not too bad. Now, there are some other quick little applications for this card that aren't super relevant, so I'm not going to waste too much time. Chi Jiao, light with 2800 attack, same thing with Exorcister Magnifica, light with 28, and Flowering Etoile, the Melodious Magnificat, if they don't have Aria to prevent all of the Melodious monsters from being targeted. You could potentially summon DS Irae, because that is, again, another light monster with 2800 attack, so it can cover all of these targets. That is honestly not too bad. So if you're playing against like those random rogue decks, and you're playing Yubel, or quite frankly anything that plays DS Irae and that could play Metal Chonios, so Snake Eye and Yubel, so obviously probably the two best decks, that's gonna be great for you. In Tenpai Dragon, it could be only good against the mirror match, but against the other decks, it really depends on your extra deck. But you can target the Hieratic Seal and either obviously summon your own seal, which is insane, because then your opponent doesn't also get the effect to like at least tribute and then special summon a monster from the deck, so you can really cut your opponent off of a follow-up. So that's, again, another reason why this card could be great in Tenpai Dragon. And it's not like Dark Ruler where it skips your battle phase or anything. But if you're not playing Tenpai Dragon, then you can at least summon Effect Veiler and then negate the Hieratic Seal, because, again, light monster with 0 attack. You can also summon Ghost Ogre, but remember that the Ghost Ogre is still negated, so it's not like it has any value on the field. It's not going to do much of anything, except if you want to use it as a level 3 light tuner. That could work. Quakimeru Drago is a wind with 1900 attack, but when it's summoned off of Hieratic Seal, it goes to 0 attack and 0 defense, so you could Metal Chonios into it using Droll and Logbird, and that would work out just fine. So yeah, you can also do that. Against the Tenpai Dragon Genroku, you can actually stop that one proactively by using Ash as your Metal Chonios target. Fire with 0 attack, that works, and again, your opponent cannot respond with Genroku to your Metal Chonios, but if he has like a Quickly spell or whatever, or a trap that he can chain, then he can chain the Genroku to that card, just like, you know, Hot Red Dragon, Archfiend Abyss, chain MST to Dark Ruler or some stupid bullshit like that. That would unfortunately work. Against the Labyrinth deck, there is lovely Labyrinth. Dark Fiend with 2900 attack. Ironically, Typhon has the exact same stats, which is interesting. I think the defense is 1000 higher, but that's about it. But it's irrelevant anyway, so yeah, who cares? Yeah, you could summon Typhon and then negate Lovely. It's not too bad. Or you could summon Spirit of Yubel. Like I said, it's a Dark Fiend. So against the Labyrinth deck, Metal Chonios is always good because you get to negate their cards and summon a body. And then you can start doing things with those bodies. You can start popping them with Sharvara or Gravescormer. That's assuming that your hand's dog shit. So off of your opponent's cards, you can get your stuff going. And then finally, against the Ritual Beast deck, this card is overall extremely bad, I'm not gonna lie, but if you're playing Ritual Beast yourself, it's not super garbage, because you could at least target their Ulti Ray Ratori, and then summon your own Ulti Ray Ratori, and then banish both face down. And you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, because not only is Ulti Ray Ratori a super annoying card, it gets to banish a card you control, etc. Ritual Beast Steeds is a card that destroys monsters on the field up to the number of Ritual Beast monsters you currently control. And if you can banish that, well, there is going to be 1 less Ritual Beast monster for opponent, so your opponent is popping 1 less card. So I guess it saves you from the pop effect of Steeds, but either way, I don't think this really matters because Protoss is a thing, so I guess it does matter if you imperm the Protoss, and then you still have to deal with this end board. Well, it's a good board, but with Metal Chonios, you're taking care of it for the most part. So that's why I'm saying you should be fine if you're doing that, but again, you need your own Ulti Ray Ratori. So again, just to sum it all up, this card, very similar to Super Poly. If you have the targets for it in your extra deck, it's always going to be insane. For example, if you're playing Yubel and you have like a random Mirror Jade in your extra deck, then you could summon Mirror Jade targeting Mirror Jade and then banish both face down. So you don't even have to worry about the fact that they can send a fusion monster from the extra deck to the grave, because you're banishing face down. You're not even letting the monster stay on the field with its effect negated so it can still pay cost. You don't have to worry about that. I guess if you're playing cards like Colossus or Aggregator, then obviously it gets even better, right? Same thing with Toad. And there's also some other things that you can do. Maybe they're gonna come up in the future, but for now, I don't think it's really necessary. So I think I summed up all the best applications for this card. And like I said, it's a great board breaker. I really recommend. I would give it like